In 1908, Lucy Maud Montgomery published her classic novel, Anne of Green Gables, the tale of a plucky red-headed orphan girl growing up in the town of Avonlea on Prince Edward Island, Canada. The book was an immense success, and its reach spread far and wide, perhaps even further than Montgomery could ever imagine. This was the book that was gifted to Hanako Muraoka by a missionary in Japan right before the onset of World War II. Throughout the conflict, Muraoka would work on translating the book into Japanese and would finally publish it in 1952 as the Kage no An, or Red-Haired Anne. Once again, Anne would go on to be a bestseller, the stories of her adventures striking a chord with young Japanese girls in post-war Japan. It would later be adapted into a 50-episode anime series in 1979, with future industry legends Isao Takahata and Hayao Miyazaki on the team. That series in turn would be translated and aired around the globe. This fascination with Anne and her seaside home of Avonlea continues to draw tourists from Japan to Prince Edward Island every summer. However, for those fans unable to make the trip, there was, and in some ways still is, an alternative to boarding a plane to Canada. This is the story of Canadian World. Ashibetsu is a former coal mining town of about 14,000 people, located in Japan's northernmost prefecture, Hokkaido. Like many other towns in Hokkaido during the 80s, Ashibetsu found itself at a crossroads, forced to transition away from being a mining community. Around them, Japan's economy was seeing unprecedented growth, and tourism was at an all-time high throughout the country. People living in Japan's bustling cities wanted an escape, and Hokkaido's northern climate made it an incredible destination for winter sports and sightseeing. Tourism had been the answer for so many other towns, so Ashibetsu decided to jump on the bandwagon and open an elaborate themed park modeled after the picturesque landscapes of Prince Edward Island, or PEI to the locals. This park was Canadian World, and it officially opened in 1991.
Welcome to Canadian World. Canadian World is a theme park started after Canada in the late 1800s.
Canadian World is often referred to as a theme park, but there were no rides. It was mainly a walkthrough attraction with shops selling Canadian goods, stalls with Canadian food, and specialized performers flown in from Canada to entertain and add authenticity to the experience. There was even a young actress hired to dress up as Anne and take pictures with guests. The attention to detail was astounding, and the grounds kept immaculate. Guests could walk through a recreation of Anne's famous house, a mirror image of the one across the sea on Prince Edward Island. For children who had grown up with the animated series or read the book in school, this was an incredible experience that before was inaccessible to many Japanese citizens. They crushed up red brick to mimic the red roads of PEI and brought in teams to make it a near replica of the Green Gables house in Cavendish, everything down to the wallpaper, recalled Jennifer Long, who at 13 spent a year in Japan playing Anne at the park. But the winters in Ashibetsu were harsh. They are very much like East Coast winters, where you get a ton of snow, and there were days, especially during the winter, where we'd see maybe a dozen people, said Jennifer Long in an article for CBC News. The park went from being completely packed in the summer, with over 10,000 visitors a day, to only a couple dozen, and as the 90s wore on, the novelty of an Anne of Green Gables park quickly wore off. Ashibetsu's remote location didn't help matters either. It's located a 2-hour train ride from Hokkaido's largest city, Sapporo, making the trip inconvenient, not only for Japanese citizens, but for international tourists looking to maximize their time in the country. Years passed, and the park only got emptier and emptier. Then the economic bubble burst in 1997. Canadian World went bankrupt that year, joining dozens of other theme parks forced to close during the recession. Further to the south, in the prefecture of Niigata, lies a pile of rubble formerly known as Russian Village, a theme park designed to educate Japanese citizens about Russian culture and to help ease a lifetime of political tension. It opened in 1993, only a couple years after Canadian World, and like Canadian World, it had no rides, but prided itself on its authenticity. In its heyday, the grounds were immaculately detailed, with gold finishings and elaborate traditional paintings. Attractions included authentic shops selling Russian sweets and Matryoshka dolls, a fake skeleton of a woolly mammoth, and an ornate functioning church where couples could get married. While it managed to survive for a couple years after Canadian World's bankruptcy, 2002 would be Russian Village's final year of operation. It was demolished in 2016 after years of laying abandoned. Back in Hokkaido, on the southern tip of the island, is Noboribetsu, a larger city than Ashibetsu and the home of the ruins of Tenkaien, the China Park of Heaven. Tenkaien opened in 1992, and similar to Russian Village, was built to help ease political tension between two countries, this time Japan and China. With architecture based on the silings of the Qing dynasty, Tenkaien is mostly known today for the beautiful, tragic ruins it left behind. Tenkaien closed in 1999 and was demolished in 2017 to make way for a field of solar panels. The final days came and went for Russian Village and Tenkaien, but against the odds, Canadian World continued on, though for how much longer it's difficult to say. After its bankruptcy in 1997, the park was purchased by the city of Ashibetsu and renamed Canadian World Park. It now functions as a seasonal public park managed by dedicated volunteers. While the haunting piano music still plays through the loudspeakers, there are no more performers, no more carriages, and no more people. The place is a ghost town, a shell of its former glory, and it sadly seems as though the clock is ticking to the day when its gates never open again.